Hey, it's me again. Another teacher I want to talk about is Paul Laprade. He had a significant impact on my life because of where he came in and what he was able to do for me. I first met him in August of 2003. I was still trying to find my footing after leaving the university, and I had to go back to my old community college. I was not in a good place in my life at the time because I'd seen the worst of other people and the worst of myself in the 2 years I'd spent at university and all the damage that accompanied it. And I met Paul. I went up to Dean Durst's old office and met Paul there, and I was surprised because I was not expecting him. I did not know that Dean had retired. And Paul and I talked some. I auditioned for his chamber singers group, and he promised me that my relationship with him would be very different from the one I had with Dean Durst. I might do a video about Dean. I might. Don't know. But Paul was very upbeat, very knowledgeable, very accomplished as a teacher, and well-rounded too. He wasn't, as far as I could see, he wasn't in one specific instrument. He did piano, he did voice, he might have done guitar, I don't really remember. I didn't play guitar, so I didn't have any lessons with him like that. But I have the memory that maybe he did that. I don't know. But he was director of choral activities at Rock Valley, and I think he managed a classroom piano. I know he did. I know he did because I sat in on it once. I did not get into chamber singers, but he encouraged me to sing in the college choir, which I did. I did for 4 semesters. And my first semester back at the school was one of peace because of all the trauma and all of the chaos that surrounded my university time. It was like the storm had completely vanished, and we were now in that spot where imagine this, there's been a terrific storm outside, and then by nature it just moves on, and it's calm outside. It was a period of calm. That's what it was. And he provided that. He was a big part of that. The music he selected for the choir for that first semester was mostly of a sacred nature. It was religious music. Didn't care for that so much. And he definitely had a fondness for Felix Mendelssohn. But we had a balanced and healthy relationship, which was a nice change of pace considering what I'd come from in previous years. The next semester, yes, it was the next semester. It was the second semester. In the spring of 2004, he was my voice teacher. And we had talked about all the difficulties I had with university teachers. I mentioned I had a video about Bob Sims previously. I had talked briefly about Myron Myers. It was not those were not positive experiences in any way. And Paul's explanation, he tried to explain by saying that sometimes these university teachers are better performers than they are teachers, and sometimes they try to break their student. Well, I think if we go by that definition, then yeah, that definitely fits the description of the men that I was supposed to be learning from. Paul met me where I was at. He assigned music that was within my abilities, that was within my interests, and he actually gave me some veto power in the repertoire for that semester. Now, it may not be a great thing for a student to be allowed to choose their repertoire, but when I didn't like a song, Paul said, okay, we'll give you something else. And he gave me 2 songs. One of them was a German song. I think the translated word for that is dedication. Oh, danke nicht für diese Lieder. That song. And the second one was Bendemeer's Stream. That one I liked because that was something that worked with me. I could actually do it, and I found my voice. I don't exactly remember him teaching me breathing or posture, but he was more about musicianship, I think. Because I could already read music, I could already sing, I already had a voice, but it was a matter of developing that voice. And he was encouraging. He met me where I was at, both musically and also mentally. And even emotionally. There were some days I came to lessons and I was just somewhere else. And he was okay with that. He worked with me on that. Now, in my offense, not so much defense, I did not practice this music as well as I should have. For me, I already had the music set in my mind. I knew what it sounded like, and I could do it. But it was about the technique. I practiced the technique, and I applied that in choir rehearsals, and it definitely showed when we had some fuller and bigger sounds, and my singing was more in tune, and I was able to play with the music a little more. Not so much play around like goof around, but more like I was able to mold it, manipulate it, break the rules a little. Maybe not break, but maybe bend the rules a little. And Paul actually encouraged this. He allowed me to think for myself. He taught me to think for myself and to work within my limits, but also gently push them. The following semester, I don't remember too clearly, except that the honeymoon was over, if one wants to think of it like that. But it was definitely a different pace, a different tempo. And I did not have a great time with that. 2004 was a difficult period, but he was definitely supportive of my efforts to do things, both musically and on the stage. And we communicated some between classes. He was always in a rush to get somewhere between classes. I have to talk to him on the way, I remember that part. But positive personality, I don't think we ever really had any kind of arguments or disagreements. Maybe disagreements, maybe little things, but they just didn't stick. They were that significant. And he didn't push anything personally. I do remember one thing, however, that was a negative. We sang a song called Nia for graduation, I think 2004. Yeah, it had to be 2004. And we had a guest performer come and play the piano for us for that one. And he announced quite casually in class that it'd be really nice if we had this person to write a song for the choir. And I said, well, I'm a budding composer, so why don't you let me write something for you? So I did. I created a song, I gave it to him for the autumn of 2004, but it didn't really fit with the program he wanted to do that semester. So we put it to 2005. The song was the first song I wrote for my opera Dulcamera, with libretto by W.S. Gilbert and additional lyrics by John Spartan. And at that point, I had not written the whole opera. I had not planned to write the whole opera, but I wrote one song with lyrics from Dulcamara for this song, for this little commission. He was not going to pay me for it, and I didn't ask for any money for it either. And I gave it to him. He said it would be in the program for 2005. April came, and we still hadn't performed it. In fact, we didn't get to rehearsing it until April, and there were maybe 3 weeks of rehearsal on that song, where he wouldn't accept my notes on it. He wouldn't allow my direction. He wouldn't allow corrections that I was making, that I observed in rehearsals. And when we got to the performance, he not only refused to allow me to take any applause for the song afterwards, and he also put it in the program incorrectly. Said it was from The Little Duck and the Great Quack, which is the subtitle of Dulcamara, instead of just putting down Dulcamara. It was wrong, and I was incredibly frustrated by that. I yelled at him for it because of how it made me look. And it was also incorrect. And I'd asked him to let me see the programs first because I knew something of that order would happen. And it did. But to my surprise, he allowed me to take my curtain call, my applause, at the close of that song's performance. And as I was leaving the auditorium, I heard him tell the audience, "Scott listens to a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan, can you tell?" And they laughed. Later on, after I graduated from college, I communicated with him when I needed performers for whatever production I was working on at the time. But it was never nothing ever came of any of that. No fruit ever came of that. I certainly made an effort to get additional singers from the choir, people who did not know me and had not sung with me, and therefore they would have no prior association of knowing who I am or what I'm about. And it just didn't work. But I found our post-college communication to be much more challenging. It was as if, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I found that to be more challenging because messages didn't get returned. I would go to choir and things would get bungled. He would certainly be cheerful and positive about things, but no. How he made an impact on me was the encouragement and helping me find my singing voice. I finally found my singing voice, and for the first time in my life, I was able to sing in tune for an entire concert. I had a confident sound. I developed my sound. I found where my voice was. I could do vocalises. I could control the sound and sing in the front of my mask, because prior to my lessons with him, I always sang in the back of my throat, and he wondered why I did that. He actually got the sound to come out to the front of my mouth, and that helped me immensely as a performer. And later on, it helped me find vocal power to sing the kind of material that I wanted to sing. I had been told at university that I had the wrong voice type for the kind of material I want to perform, which was Gilbert and Sullivan and light opera of that nature. And I knew all along I'd been right, that I chose the right thing, and they were wrong. And Paul validated that, because I worked hard on the technique, which is really what I needed. I applied myself, and I felt good about it. I enjoyed the process and learned. And that was something I did not get from university. So here's a bonus message. Community college does not necessarily mean a downgrade. It does not necessarily mean that you're settling. It does not mean that you weren't good enough for university. It just means you were good enough to acknowledge that you can get more affordable options for school. You don't have to be treated badly by teachers who think they are actually teaching when they're really just abusive. And guess what? It helps prepare you for university. Although I had been to the community college prior to university, it didn't work out for me because I couldn't take it seriously. I was too immature. And I was much more mature when Paul Laprade got me. And he met me where I was at. And he helped me a great deal. Just by being there, and by being a good person, by being a good teacher, and helping me understand my voice.